There are very few movies that have completely slipped through the cracks quite like Archie's final project, originally released under the much more shocking title My Suicide, which, for the sake of not getting another wellness check sent on me like last time I put that word in a video title, I'm just gonna continue to call it Archie's final project. Archie's final project follows a 17-year-old high school student who, when asked what he'll be filming for his final media production project, casually announces to the class that he plans to kill himself on camera. Directed by David Lee Miller, the film is easily the most well-known project of his career. Looking through his work, it becomes pretty obvious that he's always had an interest in using film to bring awareness to people struggling with mental health issues. In fact, the entire concept for the movie grew out of a public service organization Miller founded in Thousand Oaks, California called Regenerate, which was started after a tragic car accident in 2001 took the lives of what Miller described as great kids in his community. Miller was approached to help figure out a way to empower kids to make media that spoke directly to their peers about the three biggest killers of youth: reckless driving, violence, and suicide. After taking a group of young aspiring filmmakers to the Sundance Film Festival, they collectively brainstormed how to create an independent film that could serve that mission. When people questioned if making a movie like this was dangerous or might invite copycats, Miller argued that ignoring the issue is exactly why rates climb so high in kids as young as 10 to 14. Archie is played by Gabriel Sunday, who didn't just star in the film. He practically made it his entire life for half a decade. At one point, Gabriel literally moved onto the set, slept next to his editing equipment, and would record new footage whenever inspiration struck. Originally, the entire movie was supposed to be largely improvised, but the investors funding the project weren't exactly thrilled with that idea. After spending a while shooting in public without permits and limited crew, constantly rewriting scenes and trying to capture as much candid footage as possible, they eventually realized that they still didn't have an actual movie. They had a collection of interesting moments and flashy edits, but not a cohesive story. New scenes still had to be written, filmed, and edited in, with the movie continuously evolving throughout production until it finally became something you could actually sit down and watch. Even though the movie wasn't officially distributed until 2009, production actually began years earlier in the mid-2000s. And you can absolutely tell, everything from the hairstyles and clothes to the handheld Panasonic camcorder the footage was shot on immediately gives away the date. It genuinely feels like somebody unearthed a forgotten high school film project from 2005 and accidentally released it 6 years later. Honestly, it's a miracle this film ever saw the light of day. The movie opens with none other than 17-year-old Archie, whose full name is Archibald Holden Buster Williams.
Archibald Holden Buster?
Bingo, that's me.
Yeah, his parents set him up for failure with that name. I mean, how do you look your son in the eye and name him Buster?
Buster, straight Buster.
Archie mentions that his parents have been recording him for his entire life, starting before he was even born, documenting just about every important moment. By the time we meet him, it's easier for him to communicate with his camera than it is with other human beings. His obsession with recording every social interaction in his entire life becomes his primary way of expressing and documenting his deteriorating mental health. He repeatedly rewatches conversations he's had with other people, analyzing every exchange and torturing himself over what he should have said or done differently.
Can we talk sometime? Can we talk sometime? Can we talk sometime?
I'm not much of a talker.
I bet you are when you want to be.
I don't really do much talking.
He begins recounting memories from his childhood home video recordings, and almost every single one revolves around rejection or emotional neglect in some way. He recalls being punched by a girl when he was 3 years old, almost foreshadowing the resentment he later develops towards girls years later. Then there was his 6th birthday party, where nobody showed up. Throughout these recordings, you can hear his mom behind the camera yelling at him, which often causes him to shut down in tears as she insists that he was just a manipulator for having emotional outbursts after these negative encounters that would make any child upset.
God, I wonder if I can return all this turtle crap.
Archie, I'm not going to get combative with you.
This is not working. This is not.
We can't turn it off, Daryl. Let him manipulate us. We're not going to let him get that satisfaction.
You would think somebody was forcing the parents in these movies to have these kids. Whether Archie was difficult to raise or not, this establishes the family dynamic where emotional distress is constantly mistaken for attention-seeking behavior. That very assumption follows him well into his teenage years. Despite everything, Archie actually grew up pretty well off. He has his own studio in the back house that he can thank his mom's lawyer salary and his dad's professional football career for. Even though their lives look perfect on paper, Archie completely rejects his parents because he sees the quiet upper middle class lifestyle they portray as fake.
It all seems so scripted.
Now in high school, Archie has grown into a socially stunted mess. This brings us to the movie's inciting incident, where everyone must reveal what they're gonna film for their final class project. Wait a minute, what the hell is Beans doing here? Most of the students give exactly the kind of answers you'd expect about their pets or whatever other teenage nonsense was popular at the time. And then there's Archie.
For my project, I'm gonna kill myself on camera.
This fool. Needless to say, that doesn't exactly go over well. After his stay at the hospital, what begins as an ordinary psychiatric counseling session gradually transforms into a fully animated conversation. One of the film's greatest strengths is how its visual effects function as an extension of Archie's inner world. Someone whose thoughts are constantly wandering between his memories, fantasies, favorite films, and imagined conversations. Rather than simply telling us how Archie thinks, the film immerses the audience in the overwhelming way his mind processes the world, because we're constantly being bombarded with clips from various pieces of media. It's literally sensory overload. This entire movie is like taking fucking crack, I swear. Upon his release from the hospital, we're led to the first instance where Archie loses control over the production of his film. Up until this point, he's been performing, using jokes, movie references, and sarcasm to keep us at arm's length. But once he finds that the police and his parents have been tearing through his film studio and searched his computer and recording equipment, the performance falls apart. While this intervention definitely makes sense considering his threat to end his life, Archie doesn't see it that way. To him, this was the ultimate betrayal, an invasion of privacy. Archie literally begins trying to direct his own emotions. He realizes that if he lets his anger consume him in that moment, the documentary would stop being his.
Stop. This isn't what you're making your movie about. They trashed your room. Yeah. You got some villains in your movie now, Archie.
Throughout the entire film, Archie obsessively micromanages every aspect of the narrative, but when real life happens and other people begin interfering, he realizes he can't afford to lose control. I found this scene to be really sad because this is the first time Archie isn't joking with us. All the visual effects disappear. The camera lingers on his face as he struggles to stop crying and regain control. His true sadness shows as his safe place has been violated. This line reads as though Archie is forcing this traumatic experience back into the structure of a film script, turning his parents into exaggerated, almost cartoonish villains in his mind, because it's the only way he knows how to cope with what just happened. Up until this point, Archie has had no meaningful relationships in his real life. That was until Sierra came along. Since the beginning of the film, Archie has expressed his disdain for being a virgin, spending ridiculous amounts of time cooped up in his room, often recording negative thoughts about the very girl he's infatuated with, who he says stands for everything he hates about society, despite spending a creepily significant amount of time fantasizing about her.
Lifeless, hollow. She doesn't even know who I am.
I think you're beautiful.
This guy would have loved a certain sector of YouTube. Go ahead and put the schools on lockdown. We heard this story before. Earlier in the film, Archie had complained about how invisible he was to her. But after learning about his plan to document his own suicide, Sierra barges in on his 15 seconds of fame, hoping to write an article about why he's planning to do it. As the two begin getting to know each other, their conversations gradually shift away from the spectacle surrounding Archie and move towards personal conversations where they actually try to understand each other on a deeper level, and the experiences that shaped them up until this point. During a casual discussion about the worst thing that's ever happened in their lives, Sierra reveals that she herself is mentally unwell. She points to the exact moment that she began struggling with depression, her brother's fatal car accident. Despite Archie believing she had a perfect life, likely a product of his own blind infatuation with her. Sierra, when asked what it's like to be perfect, simply replies that it feels like shit. Archie, however, can't pinpoint one defining event that made him unhappy. He simply feels like nothing meaningful has ever happened in his life. And it's through that shared pain that the two slowly begin to form a Romeo and Juliet style trauma bond. Their relationship takes a dark turn when Archie accidentally notices cuts on Sierra's legs. His first reaction is almost one of disbelief. He can't understand why someone he sees as beautiful and seemingly perfect would ever want to hurt herself. The same confusion and disbelief he spent the entire movie resenting other people for becomes his own response when confronted with someone else's problems. Although the conversation initially upset Sierra, she later invites Archie over to her house, where she shows him the collection of razors she hides from everyone else, before confessing that she wants to join him and documented her own suicide on camera as well. What follows is probably one of the most unsettling moments in the film. Sierra begins cutting herself before turning the razor to Archie and cutting him as well, turning this into some strange spiritual blood pact between the two of them, a promise that they'll eventually die together. Not long afterward, Archie shows her one of the most personal pieces of footage he's ever recorded. Hidden inside all the hours of home videos is a clip of his parents hugging after his grandfather's death. Part of him is still desperately searching for proof that there was still love inside his family somewhere. He spent years documenting everything, hoping to capture one authentic moment. Sadly, this is the only footage he has. The two later attend a party together where things start to get out of hand. Sierra encourages Archie to get absolutely wasted, as this will probably be the last chance they'll ever have to party before ending it. Archie ends up getting pulled into a sexual encounter with another girl, while Sierra surprisingly acts like she doesn't care, likely feeling that it doesn't matter because they were gonna die soon anyway. Later that night, Archie leaves the party alongside another classmate named Corey and his friend Earl in their drunken states to throw up outside while talking about completely disjointed nonsense. Corey, however, goes unnoticed and wanders away from the group with Archie's camera. He appears to be building up the courage to say something important, but the moment slips away before the others eventually find him again. The next morning, everyone arrives at school only to discover Corey's body hanging from the basketball hoop inside the gym. Despite this, Archie is still recording. This guy has to be getting paid from LiveLeak or something. There's no way. After discovering the body, Sierra and Archie storm out of the school and start driving like the drinks from last night still haven't worn off. She was ready to finally end both of their lives. It's during this drive that she tells him more about her brother Shane. It turns out that it wasn't an accident after all. Archie is instructed to read a letter from the glove box, which simply ends with "Love, Shane." Throughout the letter, Shane hints that the pressure of growing up in such a prestigious family had become too much. He felt consumed by shame, worthlessness, and the belief that he could never be accepted for who he truly was. To make matters worse, her parents burned the notes addressed to them because they couldn't bear accepting what actually happened. Instead, they convinced everyone, including Sierra, that Shane had simply died in a tragic accident. Earlier in the film, they even went as far as making public safe driving videos built around a lie. Sierra nearly ends up driving them off the road during this whole exchange. Archie is desperately trying to convince her that she'd be just like every other selfish person who commits suicide. It's a complete reversal from the guy we met at the beginning of the movie.
I thought you'd keep your promise.
I will. We just need to take a breath.
I don't want to take a fucking breath. If you don't want to die with me, then just get the fuck out of my life.
Where is this coming from, Archie? I mean, did you just realize you weren't about that life now? Like, maybe after seeing Corey's body, Archie finally got the smack of reality he needed. Sierra ultimately spares their lives, but ends things with him for backing out. The project suddenly has real consequences. Once other people start getting hurt, the movie he's trying to make becomes a lot harder to finish. Maybe he was finally beginning to reconsider all of this. At the beginning of the film, announcing his suicide almost feels like one giant cry for attention. It's a lot harder to romanticize your own death when someone you care about dies right in front of you. the documentary stops being just about Archie. Suddenly, he's responsible for another person's life too. What's even more devastating is when Archie discovers what Corey had left on his camera when he disappeared that night.
I remember waking up at the clinic for the first time with all the other kids, and I was given a second shot to see what I wasn't gonna live for, but I just can't. I just can't beat it. I can't understand it.
No, I don't even feel it, but I don't feel that anybody loves me.
He had turned Archie's documentary into his own final goodbye. I guess you could call it Corey's final project. Archie even makes an honest admission. He reduces Corey to just another interview or piece of footage. Archie has spent the entire documentary turning real people into stories because stories are easier to control than real life relationships.
He wasn't really a friend. He was a character in my movie, but real, and he did it, man. He fucking did it. At first, I wanted to kill myself because I was miserable. You know, freaking numb. And alone. I was wandering in foreign terrain. Oh, I wasn't part of this world. You know, but now I'm in the world. It's eating me alive.
The line between the movie and reality completely collapses when Archie realizes that Corey wasn't just another person to add shock value to his film. Archie is finally forced to confront the fact that these were never just characters. They were real people, and suicide wasn't glamorous after all. Realizing he's completely lost and that his own suicidal ideation is beginning to creep back in, Archie sets out to track down the famous poet and filmmaker Jesse Gabriel Vargas, the very person he'd credited with inspiring his suicide project in the first place after hearing his quote, "A call of death is a call of love," hoping he'll finally be the one person able to give him a reason to keep living. Archie literally hunts this guy down. Mind you, this is a complete stranger he's never met, and he's hoping that he can solve his existential crisis. He tells Archie to simply kill the parts of himself that he doesn't like. He speaks in a lot of metaphors, and honestly, it's just a lot of the same old boomer advice in my opinion, but you know, the happy movie moment. The two spend time walking around Skid Row, where Jesse points out something Archie had never really considered living in the hills. Even people with almost nothing still find reasons to keep going. Even after this though, Archie still finds himself with the gun pointed at his head. Fortunately though, he has a change of mind and throws the gun into the water. At the same time all of this is happening, Sierra begins carrying out her own plan and leaves Archie one final voicemail, explaining that she looked up online how many painkillers it would take to get the job done. Archie immediately calls 911 as he races to her house. When he finally reaches her bedroom, he finds her lying unconscious. And yes, this man is absolutely still recording. That bag can't be that good. Even Sierra's parents are begging for this weirdo to stop. This obviously makes him look like a total fucking psychopath, and her parents mistakenly think he's responsible for what she just did. Thankfully, the paramedics arrive in time and are able to save her. While both Archie and Sierra survive by the end of the movie, they don't exactly get a happily ever after romance story. Sierra moves on with her life and goes away to college, and honestly does Archie kind of dirty, leaving him for some random guy she met online. Archie meanwhile is right back where we found him, alone in his studio recording himself. But once and for all, he seems content simply existing. At the beginning of the film, Archie thinks his documentary has to end with his death in order to be complete. But that's not how documentaries work, because you can't force reality to fit the story. You let the story change as reality unfolds and you document it. That's exactly how Archie's final project was made in real life. There was never one perfectly mapped out script from beginning to end. The movie constantly evolved alongside the people making it. In a weirdly meta way, Archie's documentary does the exact same thing. It begins as a film about his suicide, but reality keeps getting in the way. Sierra enters his life and drags him into a death pact. And then reality hits him that he didn't want his story to end that way when Corey dies. The movie slowly stops being about whether Archie is gonna kill himself and becomes everything that happened because he didn't and chose to keep filming instead. In the end, he just keeps doing the only thing he's ever really known how to do, which is to make movies. Hopefully this video brings some exposure to this movie and convinces someone to check it out for themselves. And hopefully if you do, it finds you at the right time like it did for me. I truly appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one.